Hey, welcome to All Things Food Podcast. I am your host, Peter Kim, as usual. Welcome back. It is good to be back recording. It's been actually about 4 to 6 weeks since I've done this. So it's good to just be back in front of camera. Got some thoughts. Gonna pump out a few episodes tonight and next week. And that'll keep me good for a couple of months at least, I think. Right before I started recording, I just realized I was going to do something else. One was, okay, check there. And then I'm just on my Google Drive here. What was I going to do? That's right. I needed to bring up my script for the end because I always forget how to end the episode. There we go. Okay, good. I'm back. Anyway, so welcome back to All Things Food Podcast. Today's episode... your guide to instant ramen. Today I'm going to guide you through some of the instant ramen available in the United States. This is, an impossible task because there's just so much variety out there. And when I say available in the United States, I'm saying that you can order through Amazon or that you can get at Costco or even your local Japanese market. So it almost is kind of like your guide through instant ramen period, because at this point instant ramen is pretty dang international. As always, and I wanted to make sure I put this disclaimer in, and maybe I will do this in the future as well. As always, the following episode is based on my opinion. It is entirely subjective. At the end of the day, eat what you want because it's your freaking life. It's your stomach. It's your health. It's your taste buds. But I feel strongly about this. This is why I'm making a podcast. And people who I realize, I keep forgetting that there are people who don't have my cultural experience. Other people who don't have, preferences or memories, experiences with different foods. So, this episode would be for them. If you know that you really love this one type of ramen, live your life and enjoy it. I mean, my goal is not to change your mind. My goal is to help educate people who have no opinion on this or who have no experience, and also just to share my passion to what I think is good, what I enjoy. So, I think that's enough of a disclaimer. That's like a 1 minute long disclaimer. Eat what you want. This is my opinion. There are foodies that I respect. I respect their opinion. And on, most things, on the majority of things, I might agree with them on stuff. And then for one particular food, we'll have completely different opinions on. And I'll be like, wait, what? But you're one of the good guys. You care about food. You like food. You know about food. How come we have such different opinions on this? And that's just the way it goes. I mean, that's just life. And it just goes to show how subjective food is. So, your guide to instant ramen. I am going to cover 4 types of ramen today that I will suggest or describe. And because I do no prep for this, I'm minimal. I have a little outline, but I haven't looked up any of the images. I don't know what images I'm going to use to in my video podcast to kind of overlay either here or here or here. I don't know what images I'm going to find, but I have a general idea. Why did I say that? Why did I mention that? I don't know. It's just subjective, whatever. I'm going to be typing in. Oh, the reason why I mention that is because I'll be typing in the ramen as I talk about them, so I can help jog my memory. One other thing before we get started, I wanted to shout out to the people who are subscribing to me and who are following me on iTunes and SoundCloud. I want to give a shout out to my friend Dave, who has always been so encouraging. He found it all by himself because I forgot to tell him that I had started it finally. So shout out to him. And I'm on my SoundCloud account. SoundCloud. My username is All Things Food Podcast. Go figure. Thank you to Natalie Morris, who recently liked a bunch of stuff, as well as Martha Bentley, Nellie Woodward, thank you very much, Yolanda Liller, and Lamarck. I think it's because I follow. No, wait, no, yeah, they just followed me. So great, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Dohas Records, Dorothy Mendoza. I think those are the most recent people who have started to follow me on SoundCloud. Check me out on YouTube. Give me a like. Leave comments on my YouTube videos. That would help me out a lot. More contact information will be in the show notes in my SoundCloud stuff and my YouTube video, because this is recorded on YouTube, because why not? I have the equipment. I have the technical skills to pull this off. So, why not put it on video? Okay, that's enough of that. So let's get started. Your guide instant ramen, 4 different types of ramen. But there are 2 types that I'm not going to mention beyond just saying don't eat these things, or it's not part of the ranking system. Okay. The first type of ramen that I am not going to talk about is the Americanized ramen. I'm specifically talking about Maruchan and the like, the stuff that you'll get at Jewel or Kroger's, I think, if you're in the East Coast, or whatever the heck West Coast people have. That's like not even on my radar for ramen. Like chicken noodle soup ramen, or what do they have? Do they have vegan ramen, or they had something else? They had like one of my coworkers, they had some ramen whose flavor was just something atrocious. And I was like, you know what? I can't even process. I can't process that. So many people might say, okay, well, Maruchan, that's Asian. That's from, why are you being so biased? But it's so Americanized that even if it has its origins in Asia, okay, lime. Oh yeah, this was it. Lime chili flavor with shrimp. Damn you. God damn it. That's not ramen. Like that's like, okay, that's instant noodles, but that's not ramen. So don't call it ramen. Call it instant noodles, but don't call it ramen. It's not ramen. I mean, for my consideration, I mean, if you think you're connecting with the Asian brothers and sisters by eating lime chili flavor with shrimp instant noodles, then you are wrong. You are incorrect. You are wrong. I just said that food is subjective, except for this. This is objectively, you are objectively wrong if you consider Maruchan lime chili flavor with shrimp. If you consider that ramen, you are wrong. That's wrong. It's not ramen. So, people give me, I hate it when people say that it's Chicago pizza is not pizza, and I'm like, well, who cares what you call it? For this, I care. I care if you call that kind of crap ramen. So just don't eat it. Just don't eat it. Don't eat it. Don't eat it. Don't eat it. What? Go to Amazon, and there's plenty of good ramen that you can buy. Just don't eat Maruchan stuff. It hurts me. I almost have a genuine physical reaction when I see people eating that crap. So, Skylar and Miguel, I'm talking to you. I don't think you listen to this podcast, but damn it, stop eating that crap. Okay, so I'm not even going to talk about that. The other type of ramen that I'm not going to talk about in this little podcast is fresh noodle ramen. The kind of stuff that you can get at the Japanese market, or at a lot of Asian markets. If you are close enough to an Asian market where you can get fresh noodle ramen, where it's like, it's in the refrigerated section, and the noodles are malleable and they're, hydrated, this podcast is not for you, because, if you really want ramen, that's going to be probably really good. I actually have never really had ramen, like fresh, quote unquote fresh ramen, but I would imagine that that's pretty solid. So, live long and prosper, enjoy that stuff. But I'm want to talk about specifically instant ramen that is like dehydrated noodles, in a plastic, closed packaging, no clear fancy packaging, not in the refrigerated section. You can buy them by the box. This is the kind of ramen that I'm talking about. And it is weird to me. It is still strange to me. I'm old enough to remember a time when instant noodles was not a big thing, and so it's just funny for me to see people enjoying instant noodles. I know it's been around for decades. From like I think it was like post World War II. What's his name? Ando something. Was it Ando Momofuku, or am I just copying from David Chang's influence? I know it's been around for decades, but it wasn't really popular from my understanding. I mean, just from my life experience, from like until like the 90s is when I first started hearing about it. I could be wrong because, like I said before, I don't do research for this podcast. I'm just sharing my opinions, but it's just weird for me to see people talking about ramen, especially like real ramen, like in a restaurant. Ramen is so popular, but it's still so weird for me to see that for people to enjoy ramen. And that will actually be a future episode, is the best ramen in Chicago, because I love ramen. It is, I would say, top 5 or top 7 foods of my life. Not top 2, definitely not top 3. Probably like top 5. I'm like number 5 or number 5, 6, or 7. It's probably around there in terms of my favorite food. So I really love ramen, and it pisses me off when I find bad ramen. When they call this ramen, when they call something ramen and it sucks, then it pisses me off. It pisses me off is not true. It does bother me though. It really does bother me when I've tasted what ramen could be, and then I taste this like crappy imitation, even like at a restaurant. So that will be a future episode. But the good news is that you can get good ramen at home, like good instant ramen. And that's why I'm doing this podcast. I'm doing this podcast because I walked down the aisle at Jewel at Mariano's, and I see these rows of crap parading themselves as ramen. And I see my friends and coworkers being somewhat satisfied by this garbage. And I'm like, there's so much more. There's so many better options for you than this garbage. So I would love it if someone from Maruchan contacted me and was like, you're an idiot and please try our ramen. I would love to do that. But I'm just saying it's crap. All right. Let's do it. Let's get into it finally. Okay, so these are all, I'm not going to rank them except for the last one. The last one I'm going to recommend, but I'm not doing like a rating system. I'm not doing like a number 1, number 2, number 3. We're already like 12 minutes into this podcast and I haven't even mentioned one of them. So let's just get started. Okay, these are all good, fine ramens that I would suggest. I'm going to go and describe each one. Maybe share some of my personal experiences because, again, food is personal. And, do with it what you will with this information. But these are all fine choices for ramen. Yeah, so let's get started. First one, the first 2 are Korean ramens. And it's kind of hypocritical on my part for me to be bothered by Maruchan, lime chili with whatever I forgot flavor with shrimp. And yet, my first 2 suggestions are actually Korean ramyeon. Ramyeon, okay? Ramyeon. Not ramyeon, it's ramyeon. It's not ramen, but it's pretty dang good. And in terms of in the world of instant noodles, it's ramyeon. So it's not ramen, but it's close enough. First one is Shinramyeon, and Shinramyeon is by far the most popular instant ramen that you're going to find at certainly any Korean market. And it's kind of gained a kind of a niche following in America for its ultra spicy flavor. But just the regular is fine. They also have a Shinramyeon Black, which supposedly has more beef, seasoning. So it's supposed to bring a more intense, savory, beefy flavor. And then as I just previously mentioned, there's like the ultra spicy Shin Ramen. Let me look that up. Shin Ramen, spicy. I think it's buldak. I could be wrong. It is buldak 볶음면. Okay, buldak 볶음면 is supposed to be the. Is that it? I don't know. I just looked up Shin Ramen spicy. Yeah, I could have sworn there was like an ultra spicy version. But anyway, it's a very popular instant ramen, and it's good. It's tasty. It's known for being spicy. So if you're gonna go for Shin Ramen, it's gonna be really spicy. They pride themselves. It's their shtick. Their defining characteristic is spiciness. So if you want really spicy ramen, and again I'm gonna say ramen because it's a distinctly Korean noodle dish. Go for Shin Ramen. I've eaten it many times. It's very popular in Korea, and it is what it is. It's not my favorite. It's my least favorite. I'm actually going in order of preference. Okay, so that's number 4. I don't ever see myself buying Shin Ramen actually, but it's just really popular, and I don't think it's bad by any means. It's just not something that I particularly enjoy. Next one I do enjoy. The next one is called Jin Ramen. Jin Ramen. So Shin Ramen is known for its black packaging that you'll find at a mart, and you can pretty much find this. I think I might have even seen this at Costco. I could be wrong, but it's Shin Ramen is pretty dang popular. Jin Ramen, it's definitely at Asian markets, certainly at any Korean market you will find Jin Ramen, but you will definitely not find it at Costco. I'll be very, very shocked. Jin Ramen is known for its yellow packaging. Shin Ramen has black packaging. Jin Ramen has yellow packaging, and it has a mild and spicy flavor. And I usually just go for the spicy because I'm Korean, American, and I like spicy-ish stuff. It's not over. The thing is, like, Shin Ramen is just bam, 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 like hitting you with spice, right? And it's kind of an assault on your taste buds. Jin Ramen's spicy flavor is more balanced, I would say. It's not nearly as aggressive in its flavoring, and it's just tastier to me. So Jin Ramen, I enjoy, and occasionally, and by occasionally I mean like once every 2 to 3 months, not that often, I'll crave Jin Ramen. So Jin Ramen, like if you're craving Korean stuff, Korean instant noodles, Jin Ramen, I would suggest Jin Ramen. That's the way to go. Not Shin Ramen. Shin Ramen everyone eats in Korea, but Jin Ramen, man, that's better. Okay? So that is my official endorsement for Jin Ramen. Third ramen. Now we're moving into the Japanese stuff, which for me is like the OG. That's for me that's like the real deal. Now we're talking about ramen. Okay, so here we go. We are going to hit up Sapporo Ichiban, and let me bring this up on Google just so I can have a frame of reference. Sapporo. Thing is, like, if I put the burden on myself to do any research, then I would just never do this podcast. Anyway, okay. Sapporo Ichiban. This is the stuff I grew up with. It's been in America for at least 30 plus years. So you will definitely find it in any Asian market, certainly any Korean market, because a lot of Koreans like this too. It's known for its red packaging. Go figure. I just realized all of these ramens have different colors. Get the original flavor. I think it's miso. I think it's miso based. Miso is, for those of you who don't know, miso is a fermented bean. And whenever you translate a lot of Asian foods into English, they sound really gross and weird. At least to me, they do. but miso is awesome. If you ever had miso soup when you're most Americans usually eat miso soup when they're eating like sushi, or they go to a Japanese restaurant and they have like the crappy just the lowest quality miso soup. That's miso. But miso can get really good and really savory. But it's fermented bean paste. And then they mix it and they do stuff with it. Better miso soups will have a lot more ingredients. I've had some miso soup that had a lot of like little clams and little shellfish along with a lot of other stuff that it was just like, it blew me away in Osaka. So miso can get really high, really elevated without being pricey. But the stuff that you usually get certainly at Japanese restaurants in America is usually like the cheapest quality. They just throw in some miso paste and mix it with water and you're pretty much done. Maybe they'll throw in some tofu and some kombu, some seaweed, and that's pretty much it. But it can get much, much better than that. Anyway, I digress. Sapporo Ichiban, the original flavor, red packaging. This stuff is really good. Again, I am biased because I grew up with it. One unique way to eat this, I've actually never done this with Jin Ramen or Shin Ramen. I've only done this with Sapporo Ichiban. Is one way to eat this if you're too lazy or if you just want to eat it in a different way is you open the package, the red package, and inside the red package there's a silver seasoning packet that you're supposed to add after you cook the noodles, right? But if you don't want to like cook the noodles and you just want a dry snack, what you could do is you take out the silver package, the little pouch, and then you crinkle up the top and then you crush it. You crush it so that the noodles get into these little pieces, and then you open up the packet and then you toss it into the red bag, right, with all the crushed dry ramen noodles, and then crunch it up again with your hand, and then just shake it so that the seasoning coats all the noodles. And bam, you have a ramen flavored snack right there in 15 seconds. Now, I did see David Chang talk about this on an episode of Mind of a Chef, but he is by no means the only person who's ever done this. I mean, I did it 30 years ago when I was growing up. So that's just a thing that you can do. And actually in Korea, they have a snack called busha busha, where they simulate that whole experience, where it is actually literally, it's more like a snackified version of instant noodles, but it's meant to be broken up and then have your seasoning packet tossed in with it. It's meant to do that, and you're not supposed to cook it. It's not ramen, but it's like in the shape of ramen. So that is definitely an Asian thing where you do that. And I would suggest Sapporo Ichiban. I don't know why I've never heard of anyone doing it with Shin Ramen or Jin Ramen, but with Sapporo Ichiban, definitely a way to go. I will talk about at the end, by the way, how to prepare instant ramen if this is your first time. We know when I'm doing these podcasts, I keep forgetting like who my audience is because I'm primarily talking to myself, right? I'm literally talking to a camera. But in my mind, I'm talking to myself. But at the same time, some of these podcast ideas are coming from my conversations with coworkers or other people who don't have experience with Asian culture. And so, for example, I recorded a podcast 2 weeks ago where I was describing how to eat sushi properly. And the reason why I recorded that episode is because I saw my coworkers eating sushi in the wrong way. And I'll just say it is the wrong way. I mean, it is they were eating it in a way that it was not meant to be eaten. Okay, I'll say that. So the reason why I mention that is because I keep forgetting who or what has experience or no experience with instant ramen. So, pardon me if my explanations are not exactly the most clear, because I kind of switch between talking to myself versus talking to an imaginary audience who may not have experience with Asian cultures. All right. Shinramen, Jinramen, Sapporo Ichiban. Should I put the links to like buy these products? I mean, I'm getting no revenue from this, but that might be, excuse me, that's gross. That might be helpful. Okay. Sapporo, Shinramen, Jinramen, Sapporo Ichiban. Last one, my last final recommendation for this podcast episode. This is a ramen that I only discovered when I came back to America. I did not know about this brand, and I was kind of blown away by it. And I was so blown away that I consistently have this stocked in my home, which is, like Sapporo Ichiban. I grew up with it. I enjoy it. I think it's a good instant ramen. I don't have it at home, and I don't plan on buying it in the near future. I would eat it if someone gave it to me, but I have no plans at all. Zero plans to buy Sapporo Ichiban for myself. But I do have and will continue to buy. I actually need to restock on my last suggestion, which is Nissan Rao. And as you can see, this is known by its black and green packaging. My audio recorder is down to 1 bar, so I'm going to be glancing down at it. Anyway, Nissan Rao says right there, ramen noodle soup. Pretty easy directions. Sapporo Ichiban is miso flavored. This is tonkotsu flavored, meaning pork bone broth. There's like dust here. Sorry. Okay, pork bone broth. I'm gonna throw a picture from my Instagram, that I took. The picture I took, it looks like it could be from a restaurant, but it was just in my kitchen. After my wife made me some Nissan Rao. This is by far the savoriest ramen, instant ramen I've ever had. I would say this ramen brings 80% of the experience of a really good ramen. I would say if you can imagine like the perfect ramen being at 100%, like also savory and especially the tonkotsu, the pork bone broth. They like roast the crap out of these pork bones, and then they to get this really good caramelization, and they stew them forever, and they add all these other ingredients. It's a really intensive process. I think it's the most intensive process compared to most of the other types of ramen, and it's a lot of places don't even do tonkotsu ramen because takes so much preparation. This instant ramen will bring 80% of the flavor, okay, just by itself, without doing any sort of additional. Let me put this right in front of my computer. Just right there. All right. This ramen will bring 80% of the experience of a really good ramen, okay? Strongly recommend it. It's just as easy to make as Shinramen, Jinramen, Sapporo Ichiban, except this will it is heavy. It is heavy. But that's, the good thing is just add water. Add more hot water if it's too salty for you. Nissan Rao is my recommendation for the best instant ramen that you can find. I'm sure there are others, but that is my experience. Now, I spent the least amount of time on my favorite ramen. I don't know why, but let me get into how you can prepare instant ramen. So obviously you boil the noodles. Usually the thing is you boil the noodles and then you add the soup mix and then you're done. And that is it. But if you have any experience with instant ramen noodles, you probably know to add at least one key ingredient that will transform the experience, and that is an egg. You gotta add an egg to your ramen, guys. Okay? Add your egg to the ramen at the end of the cooking process if you don't want it too raw. Then cook it, a few minutes before you turn off the gas, turn off the heat, so that everything gets cooked a little bit. But for me, I like to add the egg right after I have turned off the heat, so that the egg whites get a little cooked, but they're still a little raw, and the egg yolk stays raw as heck, okay? And that way, when you mix in the egg yolk with the broth, it becomes like this luxurious fatty, buttery, even though there's no butter in there. Don't add butter to your ramen. Very luxurious experience. Add an egg to your instant ramen. Boom. I told you that this package by itself will bring 80% of the experience. Adding an egg will bring like 7 to 8% of the experience, bringing it up to like 87, 88. You're getting there. You're getting there. And then one more tip, a couple other things you can add. And again, I'll show this picture from my Instagram of the ramen that my wife made, not me. Is you add minced raw garlic. Okay, get a garlic press, plop it out, throw it in there. It adds a lot more flavor, another layer of flavor. It's very, very common in ramen shops in Japan. It's actually kind of basic, to be honest, to find raw garlic presses at ramen shops in Japan and Korea. You add raw garlic to your instant ramen. That's another 5% right there. You add some sesame seeds, sprinkle it on top. You add some green onions. I mean, you're adding layers of complexity to this instant noodle dish, and it's, you'll max out like 95%, you know what I mean? But it'll be really, really freaking good. And I would choose this Nissan Rao ramen over just about every ramen I've had in Chicago so far. I've had ramen at like 5 or 6 different places, and these are like well-known places. I still have to go to one more. I still have to go to Wasabi on Milwaukee Avenue. I still haven't been there, but all of the other ramen places, most of them are way worse than Nissan Rao. Like just straight up worse than this instant ramen package. Okay, so I strongly recommend this. A few last quick things. Different types of ramen. I mean, you can look it up. This is more of like a straightforward, direct thing. I mean, I'm not gonna talk about ramen period, because then you get into like different types of ramen, like soy ramen, shio, or miso, or tonkotsu, or my favorite type, which is sukemen, which is a whole other ball game where you have your noodles and then your soup base separate, and then you dip the noodles into the soup base and then you slurp it. It's like soba meets ramen is sukemen. I'm not going to really talk about that because I'm going to stick to instant ramen. That is my episode for today for instant ramen. Can't go wrong. Shin Ramen, Jin Ramen, Sapporo Ichiban, or Nissan Rao. Hit up any of those. Dress it up with an egg, maybe some minced garlic, and whatever the heck else you want, and enjoy. I hope this has helped you. I hope you get some good eats out of this, and stay hungry. No, my tag is stay hungry at the end. First, I gotta do my shout outs, right? Okay. So, as always, you can find me on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, Instagram. I'm at Peter BB Kim. On Instagram, Peter BB Kim, and the links will be in the show description. You can check out my website, which is peterbkim.com, or you can email me at allthingsfoodpodcast@gmail.com. I would really love to hear from my listeners, suggestions for different shows, or if any of my recommendations have helped you, have affected your eating habits, have made you, or helped you appreciate food in a different way. That's really the goal, is to share my passion for food, to educate people on my experiences and from what, the limited base that I know. I would love to hear from you guys. Send me a link. Not a link. Don't send me a link. Don't send me links. I'm not going to click on them. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm really rusty. So that's my end tag. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And until next time, stay hungry.